Welcome to the Fit for the Kingdom podcast, episode 21. You're here with Tomás Monekason and Nico Monekason. Good morning, Nico.
Good morning.
In the beginnings of these affections, there is much sweetness, but little profit. Much honey, but it is mixed with poison. Youth especially is gullible in this, and readily believes what is shown to the senses. Whoever has once entered into such entanglements is like a fly caught in a spider's web, and scarcely can escape. So with that, we're going to record a little pod on dating. Now, I guess part of the pressing reason why we wanted to talk about this is we gave a talk at a youth group just last week, and it was about conformity to the world, transformation through Christ, and unity with God's will. And obviously being youth, I guess a big thing that comes in your head is like, okay, when I'm thinking about the ways that I'm conformed to the ways of the world, or when I'm thinking of obstacles or barriers in my life as a 15 or 16-year-old guy, girls play a pretty massive part in that. Now, we talked about chastity and lust and masturbation in the previous podcast, which, to be honest, that's 50% of this conversation. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, go and listen to it. But like, I know many people have a lot of questions around this, and like maybe that they can sense that there's some sort of incorrect attachment in their life, or they're not sure if they're doing it right. And I guess from our point of view, you know, there is a right and a wrong way to do it. So that's sort of what we want to lay out today. We're not going to talk about every single aspect of dating, but we wanted to answer some key specific questions. So I guess the overall title of the pod will be something like The Danger of Dating When You're Not Ready. So we're not necessarily going to talk about dating per se, but how a lot of people who are perhaps in dating relationships or chasing a dating relationship or stuck in this cycle of texting girls or whatever, why is that a dangerous place to be in? Why can that negatively impact your spiritual life? What bad effects can it have on your life overall? So that's sort of what we're going to break down today.
Yeah, and it's the classic balancing act of life, and when you're younger, it's always a lot more difficult to balance those things because one, you're immature, two, you're being formed, and especially being formed by the things around you. And so when it does come to like these desires, which could be said to be some of the most strong desires that you will have, especially as a young person, like you meet a young girl or vice versa that you're very attracted to. It's like, okay, how do I channel that? Where is that meant to go? What is that saying? And then how do I properly act upon these feelings, upon these desires? Because yeah, in the world that we live in and the confusion that brings, it can go anywhere. And so having proper guidance, having proper objective norm in which we follow as Catholics, like knowing where the boundaries are, is absolutely key to actually living a healthy, virtuous, and just devout Christian life.
Yeah, and I think it's bang on what you said. Like, part of the reason why this has become such a big problem is because people literally do not think about it. They don't think about it, and they don't have any sort of objective approach to do it. It's like you turn 14 or 15, you know, the hormones are soaring, and you see a pretty girl. She might even be a little bit based, and you're like, well, I found my wife at 15 years old. Like, let's lock it in as soon as we turn 18 or whatever. And even if you're not in that case, like, how many guys or girls for that matter are in high school, you know, well past the age of reason? You see a guy that's relatively attractive, or you see a girl that's relatively attractive, and you're like, okay, how do I get her number? How do I ask her on a date? Like, how do I start dating her? Like, I feel like I've never heard the question ever in my life, should I be dating right now? Am I ready to date right now? Is this something I should even be doing at this age? Like, I have literally not heard any podcast, not heard any priest. Like, it's just never talked about.
Yeah, and that's why it's kind of like a dangerous game, because before you know it, like you do find yourself in a scenario where finding your way out once you realize, was that what I was meant to be doing? If you figure out that that question is no, I mean, the answer to that question is no, then finding your way out of that is a lot more difficult than finding yourself in that. So, yeah, and what you're saying is right. Like, in the world we live in, you don't have people saying to you, like, especially at a young age, like, okay, this is the way you should live your life in these years until you reach a certain, like, and making decisions like, this is where you should be leading yourself. These are the things you should be saying no to. These are the things that you should be doing. Like, it's more like, okay, like, you guys need I don't know, for me, it was like, just pass your grades, like, if you meet a girl sweet, like, yeah, try and get her number, whatever. Like, I mean, it feels, especially in just school culture, which
feels normal.
Yeah, it feels normal. And like, let's not expect too much from schools, but okay. Knowing differently now, what is it that young people need to do? And like, that's our first point is, what are the why do young people especially, want to date nowadays? And as like, even just continuing on talking about like school experiences, like, it is seen as like, you are like the cool person, you are like the more mature person if you find yourself with a girl at a younger age, or like in a relationship. Like, even if you have no idea where that relationship is going, what that relationship is for, like, it's merely just like kind of satisfying that desire because you like this woman, but you get a certain status from it. Like,
yeah, I think, like, I would say it's a natural and normal thing to like want to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Like, there's obviously nothing wrong with that per se, but as you said, like, okay, well, firstly, the reason that you're quote unquote dating this guy or girl is probably not because you think they're a suitable candidate for marriage. It's because you like the way they look, or you like the way they make you feel. Like, it really goes further than that. Maybe it does. Maybe you like their character and you get along with them as a friend, but that doesn't, like, that's obviously not enough to start dating from. But I think it's like, especially as you grow up, and I guess in our culture, I guess we have such a loss of innocence where it's like, people think about sex and marriage and having kids probably from a very young age. Like,
yeah, like, the goalposts have fully shifted. Like, it's not about, like, there's nothing about your personal vocation or like your duty towards your work, to your study,
for sure.
like, to the things that actually are sanctifying you now. It's more about like, okay, let's just kind of gratify every single desire, every single feeling that we have, and kind of attain a certain level of comfort. So like, women aren't seen as, okay, these are ladies that could be my wife. It's more like, I don't know. It's like there's been a blurring of the boundaries, and like there's the friends, and then there's also like, oh, like, I can text them. It's just like, you're in this gray area in which, like, this is completely separate from like an intentional pursuit of a woman for a specific reason. It's more like, have fun, because they kind of like reciprocating that as well. While you're doing so, like, there's a certain thrill to like the pursuit of a young girl, like, just for the sake of it, like, whatever, getting her number, or like taking her out, even if you're ridiculously young, like, which is, it's like a natural feeling, but it's just like estranged from its actual goal.
Yeah, I think we've lost context of what dating is for. So I guess, like, you're a young person, you've taken dating for granted. I should get her number, I should take her out, I should try and kiss her. Like, all of those things are like implicit in dating culture. There's never a question of whether or not, should I be doing this? What's the purpose of dating, etc., etc. And to be honest, like, if you've never asked yourself these questions and you think that dating is just something that everyone does once they're past 14 or 15, like,
why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Yeah. Exactly. You said it's super fun, it's exciting, you've got that thrill. She probably is a real nice girl and you enjoy hanging out with her. Why wouldn't I do it? But that's obviously not the full picture. And I guess, like, the full picture is a really big part of the reason why you wouldn't date. Because it's like, as you said, if I'm, okay, well, firstly, I've got my daily duties and responsibilities. I've got my state in life. My state in life as a young person, almost 100% of the time, is going to be a student, which is going to mean going to school, which is going to mean doing my homework, which is going to mean doing that to a very diligent and high degree for the purpose of then going to university or going into a career and being as well formed as you can. Now, obviously schools aren't very challenging nowadays, but that doesn't take away the fact that that's your commitment right now. And if you are a Christian or a Catholic, and this applies, as we'll talk in a bit, to people that have finished high school. If you're a Christian or a Catholic and you know that you need to grow in your faith, and you know that you need to learn how to be detached from the world, and you know that you've got all of these sins and vices that you need to work on, and you're a student, well, your number one responsibility is to fulfill your state in life as a student and grow in the life of virtue. And maybe going to the gym or, contributing to ministry or altar serving or whatever the case is, that's like your basic life level as a young Christian guy. So if you've got this map of life, you're a student, you have these extracurricular commitments, and you're also very far from being virtuous, and you're introducing a dating relationship, a friendship with a girl, which requires intention, which requires temperance in your behavior with her, and how often you see her, and what you do with her when you see her. It requires all of these virtues that you kind of need to have in order to lead a virtuous and flourishing dating relationship. If you haven't got your faith sorted out, if you're still struggling with chastity and purity, and you're not even studying properly, you're not doing your bloody essays or whatever, what role does this girl have in your life right now?
Yeah. Like what you're pointing out is that it's a complete rewiring of the purpose of dating in a sense, or rewiring, or just returning to its actual proper function. Like dating is not for fun. Like that's what the culture pushes. Like it's a fun thing. Like it's a natural desire. Like you may as well. Like what's stopping you? But if you look at dating as it ought to be looked at, as a discernment of marriage with a specific woman, with a specific girl, then that completely changes the picture. Like that's like, how are you going to lead a woman in marriage if you don't have all those things that you just talked about figured out? And that's not to say that you need to be a saint before you like start dating, but it's just like there's a level of responsibility and intentionality that you need to have in your day-to-day life that's worthy of a girl actually coming along with you and you leading her somewhere, even if it's just dating.
Yeah.
Like the reality is the moment you put on that ring, you're in charge of leading her to heaven. And so if your behavior prior to putting on that ring is one worthy of someone being sent to hell, like,
damn,
man, you're in trouble, and she will be too. Like, I mean, she can pull her own load, but that's not her duty. Like, you're the man, you're the one that ought to lead.
Yeah, I really like the idea of gift, and that's obviously talked a lot about in the context of marriage, but it should be talked about in the context of dating as well, because as you said, like, sure, marriage is a reciprocal relationship where you're both contributing equally, but at the end of the day, we look at the way that Christ gave himself to his bride, the church, on the cross. It was, well, he gave himself to the point of death. He gave himself to the point of physical suffering, but he also gave himself fully and without holding anything back. So for me, a big thing I feel like is that if you are in a dating relationship or going into a dating relationship and you genuinely have things in your life which you need to work on, and that's okay, because you're a young person. We are young people. Again, you're not going to be a saint by the time you start dating, but it's also a good and healthy thing, and obviously something that needs to be encouraged 1,000 times more in today's culture, is that there's a certain degree to where you have to have your life in order before you're able to give that gift of your life to a girl. And if you don't have that gift of yourself, of your self-possession, of your virtue, of your ability to put bread on the table as a man, then you shouldn't really be dating, and you shouldn't really be in a relationship that's leading to marriage if you're not ready to get married yet.
Yeah.
And it's fine to admit that. But if you're not asking yourself the question, like, I reckon I can guarantee that so many people who are dating right now, if you actually like took them into an empty room and asked them, are you ready right now? Do you feel like you should be in a dating relationship? How many of those people would actually answer yes? Like, I've got my life sorted, I've got a strong prayer life, I'm genuinely ready, I've got my career path lined up, I've got my skills, I'm making this amount of money, I want to be able to provide this amount of income, and I've spoken to this girl's dad, and I'm super intentional about that if we discern it's the right thing, we're going to get married in this time frame. How many guys are actually going to give you like the spot on response? They're going to say, oh, well, actually, no, I probably won't be ready for like another 3 years. Oh, I'm actually still struggling with this sin, whether that be lust or slothfulness. Oh, I don't really have time to go to the gym. Like, I haven't been studying very much. It's like, bro, if those are the answers you're giving me, what makes you think that you have the right to take someone's daughter and put her into this relationship, put her into probably these occasions of sin,
And play around with her
and
emotions.
play around with her life?
Yeah.
Like, she's the one who's going to marry you and bloody give up everything that she has and become your wife and raise your children. What have you got to provide to her? Because if you haven't got anything, as you said, you're stringing her along, she's waiting for you, her emotions are being toyed with. She's now put in this situation where she can't discern her relationship and she can't discern. I just got interrupted by the Angelus alarm. Well, not interrupted. That's the wrong way of putting it, but if you're putting the girl in that exclusive relationship at the age of 15, 16, 17 or whatever, or even you as the guy into that same relationship before the due time, you're placing very strong barriers in terms of the movement and growth and discernment that you're actually able to live in that time. And we would say prematurely, because I guess when you're approaching locking in to a vocation, which is effectively what dating and marriage is, because you're pretty much saying, I've reached this point in my life where I'm now ready to give of myself fully and give this commitment fully, and this is the vocation that I'll live for the rest of my life. So if I'm all of a sudden adopting that mindset at like 15 or 16 years old, it's kind of dangerous, because yeah, you're not giving yourself room to grow or discern. And you made a good point when we were writing the notes for the talk. It's like a seminary isn't going to accept a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old. Like, you're going to have to be 18 or probably like a bit older, depending on your background, before they'll even allow you to start training to become a priest, let alone ordained. And marriage is as important and as serious a vocation as the priesthood. Sure, you're not saying mass, but you're taking the souls of your wife and your children in hand, and you have primary responsibility for getting them to heaven. So it's just as important. You're still dealing with souls.
Yeah.
And why are we not, like, why do we treat dating as if it's this frickin', I don't know, what would you even call it? Like a video game. Oh, this is fun. We'll play it for a bit. Oh no, move to the next girl. Or freaking 15 years old. Like I've hardly developed 3 brain cells and.
Yeah, well, that's like a big part of why dating young is actually so dangerous. Like, well, one is that most people at that age aren't formed, aren't developed enough, aren't mature enough to date. But 2 is just that as a young person, like there is. As a person, as a human, you aren't like physically developed, mentally, like all that, like brain structure, all that stuff, as an adult would be. So you forming these like very strong emotional connections, the relationships, like even these can be spiritual relationships to an extent with women. When you're so young and when your like emotions are so volatile, like that can change all the time, where your attachments are like so much stronger because you don't have the ability to regulate or to apply prudence. Like it makes life so much more difficult, and it also makes the moment that you realize, if you have, which most probably you have, done the wrong thing, you backtracking from that, you letting go, is a hell of a lot more difficult. because now as a young person, like with the hormones that are flowing through you, like that step that you took towards that girl and developing that relationship and growing close to them, which is supposedly a good thing, which it can certainly be, just maybe not at that age, is difficult to come back from, because those attachments do mean something. It's not like they're just like, oh yeah, you know, I can just undo that whenever. Yeah, like you're actually making decisions that change your life and that will affect you. Like, and it might be fun in the moment, as the sale said, like, you know, but
seem like honey.
It'll seem like honey, but you're drinking honey mixed with poison, you know? So why? Like, because it's such a dangerous game.
Yeah, I think it's very important to distinguish here. We're obviously not saying dating is bad, but there's a context and order in which dating happens. And if you step outside that, whether because you think you're ready or because you think you found the right girl, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter that it's a good and holy thing to date. It doesn't even matter, let's say, if you've done it with really good intention and you've talked to the dad or whatever, like, obviously there's ways that you can do this worse than others. But at the end of the day, let's say they're both Christians, they've spoken to the parents or whatever, but at the end of the day, if you're 15 or 16 years old, it's disordered because you're doing something at the wrong time. If I was at 14 years old and I've hardly lived or stepped outside of my own house and somehow I get signed up for seminary and I'm becoming a priest, that's disordered because I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea about my intention. And I'm probably, if I get ordained a priest, I'm probably going to have no clue what I'm doing. I might have a theological formation, but it's just wrong. It was wrong for that to happen.
It's almost a disrespect to the vocation you're entering, to the state of life God is calling you to. And you could say calling you to in the sense that you've entered this vocation and that's it. Once the ring's on, the ring's on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of as if you do your uni just scraping through. It's sweet, you got the degree or the diploma or whatever.
Yeah.
But you didn't do it justice because you've done it wrong or you've done it poorly. And so and you're going to reap the rewards of that fruit. And so if you're entering a relationship early, being immature, not being ready, your life being a mess, you might end up married. But the fact is that all that you just went through wrongly because you actually just wanted, you were satisfying these immediate desires. It's not like it's all going to be overlooked and now you're going to have a healthy marriage. No, the foundation of your marriage is that dating experience, is that virtue that you've built throughout those years. The way you've formed this relationship with this woman, the way you've led her. You're not suddenly going to be able to lead her to sanctity.
Yeah, because you're married.
Because you're married. It's not like a magic ring.
Yeah. Well, I think that's key. Sure, you grow within a dating relationship, but there's a level of growth as both a man and woman, which is individual and is your prayer life and is your life of virtue. And the guy or girl has nothing to do here. If I'm still struggling with porn or if I've got these glaring red issues and I haven't even got a consistent prayer routine, that doesn't matter. The girl can live her own life. Yeah, I've got to deal with this right in front of me, and I've got to make sure that I'm a temperate man, and I've got to make sure that I'm actually pursuing God before I even freaking talk to a girl. Because that groundwork, that's the house of stone that you're building prior to a relationship. The growth that happens in a relationship, I'd say it's more an emotional growth where you learn how to interact with a girl and you learn how to be attentive with her. You get to know her as a person.
Yeah, specifically.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking about growth in virtue or growth in your spiritual life. That
is presumed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's presumed.
Yeah. Okay, so I get the question is, how do you do this properly? So, because we understand, I think we've made pretty clear how when you're young you just aren't ready in a multiple manner of ways. I
guess, sorry, I think there's a small nuance to make there. I guess what our consensus would be that you can be a 25-year-old guy and not be ready for dating. You could be a 30-year-old and not be ready for dating.
Yeah,
However,
100%.
in addition to that, if you are, let's say, under 18, to be honest, for me personally, I would say that most guys under 20, probably none of them are ready to date. There would be very few like 18 or 19-year-olds who are locked in enough to start dating, because you kind of finish school and only then do you actually sort of have to start making life decisions and live a life of virtue where you're the guy in charge, not just your parents or your teacher. So I would say I would even bump up the age to 20. But the reality is that from 18 under, you just haven't had the time on earth. You haven't had the time under the bar. You haven't faced the challenges. You haven't had the social interactions. You haven't had the growth in faith. There's just, again, you could be a super holy, virtuous 17-year-old, but you need time under the bar. Like, this stuff just doesn't, okay, I'm virtuous, bang, I'm ready to date. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Like, it's a process of growth that God works in you, and just that naturally happens as a man, that you need to like have worked the job and frickin' suffered for a year. Like, no amount of learning or maturity, because you're a really mature guy, can replace lived experience of having to make the right decisions in the face of temptation, in the face of slothfulness, in the face of hardship. It's just irreplaceable.
Yeah, 100%. You're formed in the furnace of affliction. Like,
yes, sir.
there's nothing that can replace that, because like as much as you'd like to say like, oh, I'm mature enough or whatever, an extra year of life is always going to be beneficial. The question is like, okay, how much do I need to like have it lived or have experience to then be able to take on a girl? Well, it's obviously a matter of discernment,
and prudence.
But the point stands is that like, you need to be ready to date, because it's something serious. It's like a discernment of marriage and the bringing of another soul, specifically of a woman, like a woman, like we need to hold to reverence. Like, you bringing that soul into your life, like you're taking on a big responsibility. And so you not being ready to take on that responsibility, it could be compared to anything. Like, someone's not going to be made in charge of teaching a class of kids when they don't even know the stuff the kids are learning. You know what I'm saying? Well, like, why? It was because you need to be capable of taking on responsibility for it to be given to you. And so when you are in that position where you could enter that teaching role or whatever, just to keep that analogy going, when you could take that woman on, but you aren't, and you know you aren't capable of taking on that responsibility, like, that's a big mistake. It's a huge mistake.
If you still do it anyway. Yeah, well, I think one final point here, I guess, in terms of being ready. How old was Jesus when he started his public ministry? He was 30, and he was the Son of God. Like, and it says, like, it's at the end of those first chapters in Luke, it says, and the child grew in wisdom and stature, and he grew in virtue. Like, he didn't just turn 18 and he's like, all right, sweet, let's go to Calvary. Like, he was forged in the workshop with St. Joseph. He lived those years in obedience and in the state of reception from his parents and from God as he formed his body, mind, and soul. And only at 30 did he enter into public ministry. So there's obviously, taking that as an analogy, there's obviously a time of life and a point in time where, to be honest, I think it's a really good analogy. Like, you've got to grow in wisdom and stature, and that happens by yourself. That happens as a student under the teacher. Before you go out and you take on that vocation, you take on the preaching, you take on the girl, you take on the priesthood. Before that, like, there's a lot of work that has to happen. There's a lot of groundwork. There's a foundation that needs to be built.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, so I've kind of lost my point. Like, obviously, a vocation is a call to follow God. And so, in a sense, like, if you look at all the disciples that they were asked to follow as unworthy as they are, but there was certain things in their life that they kind of had an order to follow him, and that one primarily was just age. Like, these are all kind of working class men. Like, a lot of them were like living in sin, but
Sure.
I think we're in a whole different like mindset to that. Like, okay, we realize like the dangers of dating too early. Like, you ask any young guy in an ideal, would you think it's like a good thing to
Right.
date at this age? And that'll all tell you no.
Mm.
But we start justifying that when like things like a girl that I like comes into the picture. Like, now
Right.
suddenly you're like, okay, it might not be that bad. You
Right.
know, like,
Right.
but it's just, I think it's completely separate to the fact is that you need to be ready. Like, you need to have a certain amount of experience before you actually enter that.
Yeah, well, I think that's why you have to approach it so intentionally, because as you said, the girl comes and it's like the comic of like the guy looking with his like open eyes, like he literally loses his reason when he has this physical attraction. So that's all the more reason for, as a young guy or a girl, to be very attentive to your interior life and to be very intentional with who you allow into that emotional, vulnerable boundary. Because the moment you've let someone in, as you said, it's very hard to sort of make things right again and seal up the boundary and sort of try to get your life back on track. Because it is such a dangerous, emotional, physically attractive, hormonal thing, all the more reason to be careful, to have vigilance, to actually think about these things that we've talked about today before stepping into that. Because as we said at the start, the societal baseline right now is that you take it as a basic assumption. Oh, everyone dates, everyone does it, it's fine to do. And you don't give it a second thought. But yeah, I guess that's the whole point of the pod. You're sort of putting yourself in a very compromised and not a positive situation, really. Like, I think it really distracts you from life. It distracts you from what you need to do, distracts you from your prayer life.
Yeah.
Doesn't allow you to make the right decisions with your actual career or responsibilities in mind.
Yeah, that's a big one because, like, I don't know, you finish school and then you've got this girl on board. It's like, well, she wants to go study, you know, however far away, and you're going to go study another place, or like you've got to decide what job you want to take, and you had job opportunities in another country.
Right.
But like, she's staying here, so it's just like, oh, how am I meant to balance that? Well, it seems to me like it's a lot easier to balance a friendship long distance than it is to balance a dating relationship, because most of the times those dating relationships are going to blow apart. But like that friendship in which you both make your life decisions that you need to make, and it might take you apart, isn't going to ruin the friendship, but it will ruin the relationship most probably.
Yeah,
you know?
if
like,
you were dating.
So the point is, like, if you hold off from dating, like if you are temperate enough with your desires, and when you're like, okay, look, I may like this girl, but it's not prudent. Like, the fact of the matter is, there is a high chance that you guys aren't going to be in the same town or in the same city post graduating school. And so, like, they go off somewhere, they go there, there's no harm done. But you're in a relationship, and now it's just like, okay, what happens? Well, there's two ways people escape that. Or the relationship, like, blows up, or you end up making decisions that are limiting you as a person. And that's not to say, like, dating relationships ought to have certain sacrifices that come with them. But when you're an 18-year-old that's just finished school, and you're sacrificing your job, vocational decisions to this relationship that you got into immaturely, like, I don't know. I don't know if they match up, and I don't think they match up. Like, you shouldn't be making that big sacrifices at such a young age, when, like, kind of when marriage, even if you're planning to get married at 19 or 20, is, you know, like, I think you just have things in the wrong order. Because, like, okay, are you going to be, you're going to be married at 20, but you're going to be living your next 50 years of life working a job that you might not necessarily enjoy because you didn't have that opportunity to go study wherever you wanted to, or you weren't able to take up that job that you wanted to, you know, because it was going to cause that separation. So it's like, where's the balance? Well, I think the easy solution is you hold off until you do have things in order, in which you can say, look, I'm actually ready to take this girl on board, and hopefully
pursue it intentionally
and lead to marriage.
Yeah, I think, like, I guess more practically, like, the reason I've probably come to a point where I probably just tell people, just don't date, instead of trying to flirt or like become friends with certain girls or with a girl that you like,
avoid it.
just avoid it. Like the reality is that the majority of guys in today's world are struggling with lust, are struggling with doom scrolling, are struggling with a large number of sins, with slothfulness, with whatever number of problems, and you're introducing a very licit and beautiful thing into your life, which is a girl and a relationship. You can try remain friends, you can try just texting a little bit. Is that
not gonna work?
Is that ever gonna happen? Is that ever gonna work? And it's like if you're at a uni or the high school where you're seeing this girl every day, it's gonna spiral out of control in a very true sense of the word. It's gonna spiral outside of your intention, which may have been, I shouldn't date till I finish the degree, but because you had no temperance and you started chatting with the girl and now you're texting with her, then you're like, oh, I guess we'll go to the park or we'll have a picnic or whatever. Freaking game over. You didn't last 2 months. Now you're in this relationship. You're now hooked up with this girl and you've got freaking 2 years and 8 months of study left of this institution. And now you're going to have to juggle this relationship and your study, which you weren't even that good at studying to begin with, but now you're going to have to date and study at the same time. And it's like, dude.
So I think importantly, it's like, okay, as a young guy, especially in school, it's like, how do you manage friendships with women? How do you behave around women? Like, a lot of people will be hearing this and be like, oh, avoiding women, like that's just kind of like, that's just too much. But I think we mean it in the sense that like, you need to act as a guy in a certain way that you don't give any hints of like, okay, I may value you as something a little bit more special than every other girl around you.
Right.
Because that's the first step in, you know, leading to dating or whatever. And so if you're flirting, like that's an instant, like you're doing the wrong thing. Like flirting without the intention of pursuing a girl is wrong. It's standard. Like, why are you flirting with a woman? What is flirting for? Well, it's obviously to like
arouse like emotion.
Or some sort of romance or something in the other person. Like, if you're flirting for the sake of fun or for the sake of, because that's kind of my character, like, you need to fix something, like, ASAP. And likewise, like, even in friendly situations, like you just said, oh, we'll go to the park. Like, if you're intentionally, like, inviting a girl in one-on-one situations or scenario, whatever you'd call it, without any intention of dating, like, you're already doing the wrong thing as a guy. You need to hold boundaries in which the women aren't going to, like, read into what you're doing as a potential, like, oh, he may be interested in me. Because if you can sit here and look at the Lord in the eyes and be like, I don't want to date, then your actions should reflect that. Your actions should reflect that you are choosing not to date. And that's difficult because a lot of times I desire to say something different, but like, you can't go and flirt with a girl and then also maintain the fact that you don't want to date. You can't like go on one-on-one whatever with a girl and say you're not, like, that's a date, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You've got to, I think it really does come down to temperance and intention. Like if your intention, as you said, before the Lord, I'm legit not ready to date. You know that, and I know that. I should try not to get into a relationship. But you're walking out the door of the chapel and you're being the playboy or, oh, let's go study in the park or whatever. And it's like, well, bro, you're asking for it. Like
so what do you think's going to happen?
You're arousing that desire for like communion and intimacy with this girl. She's getting invited on a date by a guy. Like, you're bloody doing exactly what you said you wouldn't.
Yeah, you're disrespecting her in the process. Like, if you can't say that you want to date wholeheartedly, then why are you like kind of hinting to this woman? Or,
for sure. Yeah, like how many girls would have guys make advances in some way or another and then find out, well, this guy's freaking miles away from marriage, or he actually says like 8 weeks or 2 months after he started making these advances and we had these chats and we had these private conversations, and then he's saying, oh, I'm actually not ready to date. Well, screw you. Like, you just led me along. I was sort of envisioning this relationship, and I was
Yeah.
hoping that you'd ask me out. Like,
Yeah.
it's not honorable.
Yeah. I think some practical advice is like it's a healthy thing to have like interactions and friendships with women. Put that objectively. Okay. It's another thing on knowing yourself and knowing where you're at, knowing what you're like in these relationships. Like I think as a young guy, like limit it to group interactions. Like you shouldn't be hanging out with a girl that's not your mother or your sister's one on one.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
in a group setting, that's fine. Chat with the girls. Don't like seclude yourself. Like be a normal human.
Yeah.
But also just don't be like that intentionally flirty guy or like, goes out of his way to like make them feel good or like to buy them stuff. Things like that. Just like be clear with your boundaries. As an older person, like I think it's a completely normal thing like to have a one-on-one chat with a woman, like I don't know, a work colleague. You might have lunch with them whenever, like once every 2 weeks or whatever. Like that's a normal thing. But you're also like a more developed person in that you have prudence, you have a bit more temperance naturally because like you don't have that like emotional
Yeah,
kind of
you're a bit more stable.
Yeah, you have that stability like that you can make those decisions. But as two young people, like a one-on-one it doesn't seem to me like that's going to work very well. It's just a dangerous game. So like, yeah, just protect yourself with the situations you put yourself in.
Yeah, 100%. Like I know Francis de Sales talked a lot about that, like how you have these friendships, or people say that they're friendships, but they're like clouded with passion or emotion and self-gratification, and like that's already a natural tendency in all humans, but you put that together with like a 16-year-old guy and girl, well, you're kind of like, maybe as like a young listener you don't see it, but you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like, as difficult as it sounds, I don't think any guy that isn't being honest with his intentions with a woman would be able to say to himself, like, like I'm actually just hanging out with this girl because I'm friends with her. Like, there is more going on behind the scenes. Like, there is some underlying factor that you are kind of gratifying through this interaction, because if you're not ready to date and you're hanging out with a girl on one-on-one, like what is the goal? Like what are you trying to achieve in that?
Right.
Because it seems to me like that's just never going to end well.
Yeah, well, it's like
agree.
self-love, or you take satisfaction and consolation from the relationship, even though you've admitted it yourself that it's not right.
I don't know, like you could even be clear to the woman, like, oh, I'm not ready to date, but I still think you can be blurring the. Like,
100%.
I mean, your actions and your words always speak either differently or the same. Like you have two different messages coming from that.
Yeah,
so.
if you're not ready to date, no one-on-ones with girls. I think that's freaking hands down. Like, especially as a young dude, because it's like the girl. You could even tell the girl, "I'm not ready to date," but you're sitting on a picnic blanket by the river and it's just you two. The girl is not like. The words don't register. Like, we're not purely intellectual beings. Like, if you're saying that, but then you're treating her nicely, or you're buying her stuff, or you're taking her out, she's now developing an intimate friendship with you, an emotional friendship. It doesn't matter that you're not ready to date. She's already, like, you've both already crossed over the line. Yeah.
You're forming these connections, these emotional attachments, even if you're saying like, oh, I don't want to date, like your words are kind of separate. Like you could say it's a matter of lip service. Like,
right, yeah, for sure.
You can say things in that completely contrary and feel completely contrary. So yeah, it's important to be, I guess, practice what you preach. Like if you say you're not ready to date, then act like that. And acting like that, you should have healthy boundaries. And like your boundaries should lean to being on the safe side, because even if you zoom out and you look at it big picture, like you can cause a lot of damage by having unhealthy boundaries or by pushing the limits, like I think it's like the same when you make that analogy with like with what is sin and what isn't. It's like why are we pushing as far as we can to like,
Asking if it's a
yeah,
sin or
how
not.
far can I go before it's a sin? Why aren't you saying like, okay, well, what is actually good, and what is going to lead me in the right direction, and what's going to help me, what's going to make me free to make the right choices? And a lot of the time, that's going towards closer to the other extreme. Like obviously, you
sure.
find the mean, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, just like just be honest with yourself. Like a lot of the times, the decisions we make and the justifications that we make to do certain things come from a weakness of like,
For sure.
how far can I cave without like crossing the line?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. It's, as you said, it's the wrong framework to think about it. It's like, well, am I doing what is pure, or am I not sinning? There's a huge difference between those two. I guess one final point that I wanted to give is like, what we're talking about now, we could say it's like abstinence from dating when you know that you're not ready, or abstinence from emotional intimacy with a girl. And that's a hard thing. Like, I want to acknowledge that, because as a guy, I think already, as like a natural baseline, young men probably don't have even emotional friendships with their male friends or their parents. So I think it's a very natural thing to desire and
100%.
engage in a friendship with a girl in that way. And like, in that regard, it's a really noble and beautiful thing. But acknowledging what we've said on this podcast, and that the majority of the time, your responsibility, your duty, the honorable action for you to take as a young man is to not date this girl, and actually abstain and be a gentleman and acknowledge, well, I have these weaknesses within myself. I have my own primary vocation as a son of God to follow, and I'm not ready to date you. It's a really hard thing to do that. And that's why so few people do it, because they're going to hit that critical point where there's a girl that they like, and the girl might like them back. Hardly anyone is going to get to that point and say, great, it's great that this is a possibility, but it's actually not right for me right now. Most people are going to fold. So what we're saying now is quite a difficult thing to follow. And I think that's why you can't rest on your own prudence or your own judgment with such a delicate matter. Like, you need a spiritual director, or you need like a mentor that is ideally like an older guy. Like, your friend doesn't count. Oh yeah, she's hot, like go and take her out. Like, you need someone who's actually going to take that broad look in your life and say, look bro, she's a lovely girl, but where you're at now, not the right time. Right girl, wrong time. Wrong girl, wrong time. Doesn't matter. It's the wrong time. And you need someone to speak that prudence and reason, and then you need to make a resolution to follow that through. But yeah, it's not an easy task, and that's why so many people fail. That's why so many people fall. That's why so many people struggle with sexual sin. That's why our divorce rate is at like 40% or something ridiculous. That's almost half of all marriages end up breaking up. And it probably comes down to this root cause of people
falling into relationships before they're actually ready.
Exactly. They're not thinking twice. They're not even asking a single question about it.
Yeah, that's a great way to wrap it up. And I think like as well, just think about the person you are forming and making those decisions. Like, where are you leading yourself if your default is to settle for this relationship because it seems like a good enough thing, rather than intentionally being like, look, I'm not ready, even though there might be the possibility of things working. I'm not ready to take this on. And so I'm going to sacrifice that. I'm going to sacrifice the goods that come with having that close relationship with a girl, which is great and can be so good in so many ways. Like, putting that on hold and being like, no, I need to get myself to a point where I am ready to date to then follow into marriage. Like, as we said before, like, formed in the furnace of affliction, like through the cross of carrying that burden, like, you are making yourself a stronger man. You are making yourself a virtuous man. You are showing the girl that you will take on in the future that you have the ability to say no to what you want right now and say yes to the greater good that lies ahead of you.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the test of character. And like, look, yeah, you may be giving up that status of dating young, or like getting married young, whatever it is. Having a girlfriend, but like, what's more worth it, that status or like the good things you're getting from that relationship, or the future marriage that you may have that's built upon like
Sand. You're compromising.
no,
Sorry.
stone. Like like that future marriage that's built upon stone, that's built upon like the fruit of your hard labor of saying no to yourself, of doing the right thing, of trying to seek the greatest thing, of trying to be a saint in the now. You know, that's where a strong marriage will be found. Not in the guy that just like finds a girl early that he's really attracted to and sort of just caves to that. That's the, as you say, like built on sand.
Yeah, I guess there's not very many examples of it, but that pinnacle, that ideal of it's effectively delayed gratification of a guy who's actually had the discipline to lock in, and let's say he does eventually end up dating and getting married, and he's got a beautiful marriage and he can provide more than what his family needs, and he's founded a business or whatever. Like, I don't know, like setting your life up like that, where you said no to what is effectively a distraction, a good distraction, a beautiful distraction, but a distraction nevertheless. That's so much better than what you're going to get out of it in the present day.
Yeah.
Mean. All right, well, we'll wrap it up there, guys. If you enjoyed this podcast and align with our mission, please subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify page. It's a zero cost way to support and spread the message. You can also leave us a comment if you liked it. If you have any questions around the stuff, which you probably do, feel free to DM us or drop a comment and we can touch on it more. And you can also leave a 5-star review on Spotify. Now, if you'd like to support the mission financially, we've got a weekly donation link for both Aussie and New Zealand. So you can hook up your card for $10 a week to help support the pod, help support Fit for the Kingdom. We've got heaps of stuff in the works at the moment. Now, if you choose to do this, we've also created the Kingdom Patron Circle. So pretty much anyone that does choose to support us, you get to join in a crew. We have weekly video calls where we run through different topics, and you also get sort of like an inside look at what's going on and what we're working on. So pretty cool group to join. And a huge thank you to all the men who are already contributing and making this work possible too. So we invite you to consider joining us on the front line. Again, if you have any questions for us, comments about the pod, guests or topics which you'd like us to cover, please put those in the comments section. We think we'll probably pump out weekly pods or bi-weekly, whatever we can handle over the summer at least. So you can follow Fit for the Kingdom on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The tag is at KingdomFitNZ on all of them. You can follow myself on Instagram as well. And I post shorter breakdowns of similar topics on my YouTube channel. So I invite you to check that out as well. Nikos not on social media, so you can't find him. But if you've got any questions, you can address them to me and we'll pass them on. We're probably going to be the main 2 pod hosts anyway for the future. So yeah, do you have any closing comments?
No, that was, nicely done. But yeah, definitely send through any questions. Stay prayed up.
Yeah, pray hard, go to the gym. All of these things are way more important than texting girls, so do those first.
At least if you're young. Maybe text your wife if you're married. It's a good thing.
How often are you freaking texting back the girl before you've even said your morning prayers? Have a think of that. Anyway, we'll leave you with that. Hope you enjoyed the pod. And yeah, God bless.
God bless.